I sense that Roger is in a state of shock. Roger, good morning.
Good morning.
Are you in a state of shock over Rishi Sunak's inability to smell the coffee?
Wow. I mean, it's just amazing. I just don't understand him. Everything is falling apart around him, and he's still talking about vaping and chess in parks and artificial intelligence. And I mean, he's just seems to be oblivious to everything that's going on. The country is suffering as never before. Do you know that 20% of Britons in a recent survey said that their earnings are less than their expenditures, even though they've cut expenditure to a bone, James, to the bone, they cannot make ends meet. 20% of all the 68 million of us who are in work. And yet, Rishi sits there and he doesn't have real tax cuts. He doesn't put any pressure on the blundering Andrew Bailey to reduce interest rates, even though inflation has fallen. He doesn't do any of the very simple things he could do, and he just goes out and gaslights it. I don't get it. People are telling me it's some kind of conspiracy. They say, Dr. Roger, as you just said, wake up and smell the coffee. No one can be this stupid.
Well, I'm beside myself in terms of what's happening politically. And I think a lot of people find themselves politically homeless and indeed wringing their hands at what seems to be obvious in order to fix what has gone wrong. And yet there seems to be no political will to do so. Meanwhile, you're now in horror, presumably at the cost of renting a property.
Well, that's just one of the many things that this inaction plus tax raising, interest rate raising actions by this administration have caused. Rents are up 6% in the Northeast, but 9% lots of other places, and more than 11%. That's what inflation used to be. Now it's 3.2. I mean, rents are up in London by 11% year on year. In other words, in the last 12 months. It's just insane. Nobody can find a place to rent. You're being asked now to queue outside of some estate agents' offices and show them that you've got the readies to deposit 6 months' rent on the spot if they even let you in the door. It's become insane, and you don't hear Rishi. And here's the really alarming part. We actually don't hear any other party say anything either.
Well, that's because political parties, for whatever reason, have refused to listen to the real estate industry. The real estate industry has been very poor at articulating what the issues are when it comes to the planning policies that we have in place, the stupidity of some of the decisions by Michael Gove, which defy comprehension.
Unbelievable.
The tax decisions, which have exacerbated the problems within the market, and the lending criteria from property lenders who have been encouraged by a regulator who can't see past their nose and seem not to understand basic economics, and a Bank of England that, because they missed it last time, they have overcompensated and arched in terms of or overreached in terms of what they're asking lenders to do now, and it means that we now have a range of lending policies that make no sense.
Well, I mean, that's Bailey's track record, but you jumped in just before I had finished because it's very unfair if I don't make one point. I said all political parties. I have to say that Reform are the only one who said that they will unfreeze the tax thresholds. And this is probably the most important tax cut we could have.
Yeah, and it's called fiscal drag. And it's something that, because people don't necessarily see the allowances, they don't hear about it, they just look at the headline rate and say, oh, bring down tax, bring down that. You don't need to change the rates of tax. They can stay where they are. You just need to change the limits at which
you drag people into paying more tax. It's typical Rishi and Jeremy Bates Motel Hunt smoke and mirrors and stealth.
OK, now let's talk about what's happening in Wales. Apparently, there's a whole range of issues in Wales, which is, what's the word of you? You're in a state of disbelief, I understand.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, of course, that shoplifting, and especially by organized criminal gangs, has just reached unprecedented heights. Merchants are going berserk at the amount of goods that are being stolen right now. But what beats that, I mean, what is far more bold than putting a tin of beans, you know, under your jumper, is that now people are stealing meals. In Wales, a couple was hauled before the Swansea Crown Court for, get this, dining in 5 different restaurants and leaving without paying the bill for a total of more than £1,000. I mean,
it is absolutely astonishing that not only has that been going on, but also, arguably, that they haven't been caught, prosecuted or otherwise. Dr. Roger Giewel, CEO of Fair Money, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning.